Tell me when we're starting.
You know it's great?
Hmm.
You said tell me when we're starting when we first went on air.
Nice. So, welcome to Tired Chat. I'm Alex, and this
Uh,
is. Well,
I,
introduce.
I'm Gil/Death. We are both secretly Eisen, by the way.
Yeah.
Ignore the profile pictures. That's just a Kyokusui illusion. So, anyways, today we're going to be talking about anime with villain narrative main characters. So, if you don't know, that's like Alucard from Hellsing, or Light Yagami, or like Lelouch, or sort of Johan in Monster, sort of, because he's like the villain, but he's also like sort of MC halfway. Sort of.
Anyway,
Meanwhile, the casuals are probably like, "What's a villain? Those guys that get one shot in
same.
all that anime."
I'm picturing, Sword Art Online fans just like, wait, those things that aren't even a threat?
Yeah, when that grown man got beat up by a 16-year-old in real life and in a video game. This actually happened. So, yep. I have kids in my class who like SAO, and I have my friend Lizette. I adore her. She's funny. Anyways,
Hmm.
she's sitting in class, and this kid who I already don't like. All right. So you know how Saber doesn't have to do anything necessarily bad. She just breathes and gets me angry.
Yeah.
He does the same thing.
Okay.
And you know what he's telling her that she should watch Sao season 2 because it's good.
Ew.
And then I'm
Cringe.
like, I literally yell from across the classroom, Sao is garbage, and
That's how you
he doesn't
do it.
hear me. And then someone goes, I like SAO because they have the balls to kill off characters. And I'm sitting here like, those characters had 5 minutes and 2 lines. Get out of here with that trash. And then I go to lunch and I'm like explaining to my table, and then my friend Ty goes, "Oh, I like SAO. It was fantastic." And I was like, "I will literally end your life here."
I can't.
Yeah, Ty's tastes are questionable. The only two anime I know he's watched are like Tokyo Ghoul and SAO, and he likes both of those a lot.
That's like the I like anime starter pack.
So, all right, fun thing about Ty, he got dumped by his girlfriend and then wore a dress to school the next day.
Oh,
Yep,
is that
and
what
then all.
happens?
What'd you say?
Is that what happens when, the girl just takes your balls on the way out?
I guess because he'd never worn a dress before. Like, sure, he's worn like girls' shirts,
Uh,
but he always wears jackets over them. So it's like you wouldn't know anyways.
uh,
And then he just came in skirt like a dress and heels out the day after he got dumped, and I was like, oh, well, that's a thing.
well,
Yeah. All right, so anime villains. We have Kira here, so we all know that's Light Yagami, really, and not some teenage girl who needs to get on any channel on time.
Sorry.
Oh, I now feel guilty because that sorry was so weak and wimpy. I now feel bad.
oh
Oops.
dear.
So, oop, voice crack. Sorry, guys. I seem to have like developed a cough right before any chat. I wasn't coughing before. So Kira,
Yeah,
are you like a spirit or are you like actually alive?
I'm alive.
Oh, you just woke up from a nap, didn't you?
No.
Oh. Well, there goes my guesses. Anyways, back to anime villains. Alright? There's no fixing that bridge. That thing is burned to, like, the ground. So, let's talk about the one everyone should know, at least, just a little bit. Light Yagami. Woo. He's a villain protag.
Yes.
Let's talk about how Light started off. So, he wanted to, as a student, do something with his life that wasn't totally wasting his time because he was too smart for all the other kids.
Pretty much.
Right? So, so he's like, oh man, my life sucks. All these kids are idiots. I want to be a hero of justice. And, he finds a book that lets him kill people. And he's like, I'm down. This is probably a load of crap, though. And he explains for the next 15 minutes why it's a load of crap. And he finally does it. And then, he becomes Kira in 2 seconds.
Yes.
He attains a god
complex like this.
Yep. Because he had it before, it just wasn't prevalent. It was like underneath the surface waiting for something. Light needed something to give him true superiority. Because being smart to Light was like, normal.
Mm.
And this finally gave him the superiority the Light's ego needed. To just be like, I am actually a blimp, not a balloon.
Airship intensifies.
So, Rudy finds him the next day, and he's like a week later, and he's like, oh, so you're the kid who picked it up. And he's like, holy crap, you've written down like 50 names already. And Light's like, yes, I'm a hero of justice. And Ryuk laughs, and he's like, dude, most people won't even write down a full name on there. You wrote down like 50.
Yes.
And that is the start of...
Like, I'm going to see how this plays out.
Yep. That was the start of their partnership. Oh, Light. Light is probably one of the best villain protagonists out there.
He's just super duper satisfying.
So, my favorite scene with Light Yagami is the scene where there's a secret agent waifu, and she's like, I'm not going to tell Light my real name. And Light lies and manipulates her for the next 20 minutes in conversation till he finally figures out her real name and then reveals that he is Kira, and she dies.
Yep.
That episode was absolutely fantastic. Kira, do you have any input? I mean, you are Kira.
Rip.
Okay. Yeah. Did I say that bridge was burned? That bridge was incinerated.
Anyway,
Yeah. That happened. So, yeah. And we all know how villain protag stories usually end up. They either end up where, like, on a cliffhanger, or they die because you just can't have a villain win now, can you?
yeah. Death Note is kind of like Naruto in the way that the first half is pretty good and the second half is not as good.
It's because they did a time skip and it's Shonen Jump.
Yeah.
Time skips in Shonen Jump are notorious for just being like, why did you do this? All of the big three did it, a time skip. All of them.
Mm.
DBZ did like 4 time skips. And then SAO did 6 time skips in the first 5 episodes. So, and SAO is garbage, so I guess the increasing amount just kind of continually goes on and on and on until you just like reach a stopping point where it's acceptable to you're turning into SAO. You know what's funny is I'm surprised that like child laws didn't prevent like Gohan, who was like 6, from being like beaten the tar out of by like grown men.
Yeah,
Because like that seems like something Japan would censor severely for a children's show.
yeah, I understand.
Like you air that crap in America, and they did censor it like severely. Like DBZ initially on air was censored a lot. Like they made Mr. Popo blue because it was racist apparently.
Yeah,
Or you could be like Yu-Gi-Oh, where they took out all scenes with guns because Kaiba soloed people with guns with his cards. Like there's a scene. I'll continue.
because Kaiba's that great.
Yeah, he threw a card up in the air and it like stopped the gun from being fired, and then he like grabbed it and like knocked out the guy. That scene was removed from the American anime because it's a children's show, and apparently Kaiba being violent was too violent for American children.
Sounds about right. Thank you, 4Kids.
Yeah, that was so for kids. It was leaking bad lines from the seams. I like how Kaiba's still awesome even in the 4Kids dub.
Yes.
Like, holy crap. When you're just that awesome that you surpass even the 4Kids barrier.
When there's a glass ceiling and you just smash right through it.
Yep. Kaiba is similar to a lot of the actual, like, villain protagonists in anime, though. Like, if you look at his motivations, like, how they're not necessarily good, but they're not really evil either. Like, for example, Light's end goal was, like, a perfect world where no one commits crime. That's not evil, but his means were totally evil.
Yes.
Whereas Kaiba will also use almost any means necessary to, you know, accomplish his end goal of being best duelist.
Yes.
But he's not like Vegeta, where he'll just be like, oh, I'm going to legitimately make the world almost die.
Yes.
I don't know about Alucard, but Alucard just like kills everyone, regardless of like you're good or bad or like neutral or a Nazi zombie.
I mean,
I threw the Nazi zombie in there because Hellsing, though.
well, that is the plot of Hellsing. It's
Yes.
zombies.
I can't even get over the fact that they did that. That is like... That is so... There's a word for that, but I cannot find it. Like, it is beyond my vocabulary for what... How something that... That's like so American, I guess you could say. That is something that just leaks American. Nazi zombies.
I feel you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Nazi ghoul vampires. I was incorrect. Sue me. So, legitimately, there in the Helsing parody, there's a scene where like Mr. Woman goes, you know, we don't know who the threat is, and Alucard goes, I bet you it's Nazi zombies. Well, Nazi vampires. And she's like, that is literally the stupidest thing you've ever said to me. And he's like, I bet you like $50. And she's just like, no. So, you know, later, you know, you fast forward a couple episodes, she's just like, crap, it is Nazi zombies. And you hear Alucard screaming from the basement that he stays in, told you.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, at least it's not old Hellsing where it got really weird.
I
It's
feel
like it got like super bizarre, and not that. Also, like the joke is the on-running going joke is in the Hellsing abridged is that Alucard turned the police girl into a vampire because she has big boobs.
okay.
It's actually really funny. It's like they they don't even call her by her name. They just call her Big Blue Police Girl because she's like not relevant for most of the scenes because she's just whiny. And when she does do something, she's just shooting them, and then she gets wrecked
Well,
because she's not Alucard.
in all honesty, Ceres Victoria isn't relevant in Hellsing until like the last 25%.
That's when she's like when she finally like mans up after her arm got cut off, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's where they got to the parody. And her French boyfriend died.
Yes.
So the French guy, he like he like in the parody just exclusively makes sex jokes. Everything he says is a sexual innuendo, and
Okay.
like he says something to the police girl, and then police girl's like, "Oh, I don't wear a bra," and then he's like, "How have I not smashed you?" to like no end yet.
Sounds about right.
And then like he dies, and then she like eats his corpse, and it's like, oh, that happened.
Yep.
I knew it was gonna happen. I don't like vampires.
Mm.
My body wasn't ready for that.
Mm.
Yeah. Also, I think her having big boobs is just a product of the artist being a Dojin artist. He wrote Dojin before he wrote Hellsing.
Fair enough.
What's his face? Anderson was a hentai character apparently, according to CL, before he was a Hellsing character.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, that's why Anderson has that rape face in particular.
Okay. That's really funny. The more you know.
Yeah. Shout out to Clamp designers being four women and they don't know how to do proportions and they just drew yaoi before they did anime. Saint Seiya yaoi to be specific. Because there's a big fan base for that, right? I can think of maybe two people. No, one person, maybe, who would probably be interested in Jack Skellington, Saint Seiya yaoi.
Okay.
Man. So, I don't know much about Alucard because I've only seen the parody, but
Mm.
I get the gist of him,
Mm.
and I can't tell if he's just evil or just completely insane. Probably both.
Yes. He does crap like because he feels like it, basically.
That's what he does in the parody. Basically, does what he wants,
Yes.
and he's also like super horny in the parody, and it's freaking hilarious.
That's really funny.
So, yeah. So, let's see, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I went on the wiki and just read what happens at the end of Hellsing before this episode to get like a
Okay.
gist, and I was like, "Rip Anderson."
Yes.
That's all I have to say. Anyone doesn't know, Anderson is like if Kiriko Tamine was an actual priest and like was on crack.
Pretty much.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's my gist of Anderson. There's a scene where the Nazi vampires go, "You don't even know how to use those bayonets. You put them on the end of your gun," and then he like slits his throat.
Yep.
There's also in the parody, he's like, "So I got to thinking how Alucard has a sidekick, Police Girl." He's like, "So I got me some sidekicks. I got a German chick, and I got this, you know, chick from Asia, more specifically Japan. Hey, Kumiko, say something in moon speak," and she goes, "Hi," and he's like, "Yee doggy."
That's
He says, "If I got me an Italian, we could have like the access powers of justice." Oh man. I had to like look it up to see if that German chick was actually a chick, because she didn't
Okay.
look it, and I was like, oh, anime
Hmm.
strikes again.
Sounds about right.
So yeah, Alucard's a villain, and he's a protagonist. You don't get that a lot. You get that in like 10 anime total.
Yeah.
I'm curious because from what I understand of the okay, so anime I know I won't watch or enjoy. I will watch a parody of someone I trust.
Uh-huh.
Like I'll watch a so I watched Tokyo Ghoul in 8 minutes, and I'm pretty sure MC is like a villain for part of the series.
Okay.
Kira, have you seen Tokyo Ghoul? I'm sorry, did I say incinerated? I meant erased from existence.
Okay, Kira.
That was she's probably busy. I'm going to assume that's it. Either that or I did something I didn't know again because I'm a man.
Right.
You know. Meanwhile, Tumblr just storms the video chat and starts like throwing endless shade at my statement.
Tumblr proceeds to hack the video feed.
Yes, they allow themselves to enter the call. Oh man, last thing I need to do is argue with a Tumblr fangirl. Oh, okay. So speaking of villains, Crunchyroll was the ultimate villain in letting Yuri on Ice win every single freaking category.
This is the true power of Tumblr.
So, not saying Yuri on Ice is bad. Not saying Yuri on Ice is garbage. Not saying Yuri on Ice didn't deserve some awards, because it did. Just not like all of them. Did you know it won Best Opening and Best Ending and Best
Hello?
Yes.
You totally just cut out for that.
Oh, said my mic was still picking.
It happened again. It might be me.
Wait.
No, it doesn't look like it's me.
Okay, how about now?
I don't know. You'll have to speak more.
Okay, so they won like Best Boy, Best Anime Opening, Best Anime Ending, Best Animation, Best Heartwarming Scene.
Hmm.
That is so much. There was only like 4 other categories left. They won like 6 out of 10.
Hmm.
So, Best Animation, most people were saying it should have gone to Mob Psycho, and I don't think Mob Psycho had nearly good animation as the Garo movie last year rather. That Garo movie was so good. Oh my god,
Yes.
that animation. So, Best Boy should have went to Sakamoto. You can fight me if you disagree. It's Sakamoto. Haven't you heard?
That was
Best opening probably should have been Sakamoto. Apparently, a lot of people are like, "Oh, the ReZero opening should have been #1 opening." I don't know the ReZero opening. There was better openings probably than the Sakamoto opening this year, but I'm just saying Sakamoto because that's the one I listened to.
Mm-hmm.
It could take best couple. I don't care. I didn't watch any anime with like couples this season, unless you count. No, because that was in 2015. I was gonna say you could count Emma One Night Standing Leon, I guess, but that was like 2015, 2014 area. Yeah, it wasn't any like couples this year, I guess. So I guess that's fine. They probably were the best couple because it's like a romance anime, so it's probably better than like 90% of the non-romance stuff out of there. So that's probably fine.
Yeah.
I haven't heard the ending, so rip. But basically, it's just that it's not that Yuri on Ice is bad. It's just that like they won everything for like in some cases for no reason, like best animation. They're actually criticized by most reviewers for having lower tier animation in the second season, well, second half rather. And it's the same studio that did the Garo movie, and I think they dipped so many funds into the Garo movie that they were like taking from their other shows.
Well, but the Garo movie was freaking beautiful.
Yes.
Like, holy crap. I was like,
they like up the armor so good.
well, I mean, like, you know, we watched this thing and I'm just like, holy cow. Like, the animation and, you know, the TV show was good, but Jesus.
Yeah, the movie was really polished. And you're just like, well, this, and none of the action scenes did the weird, you know, lose, what's the term? They didn't lose their solidness.
Mm-hmm.
So it felt like a real fight. You know how like Fate doesn't lose their solidness?
Yeah.
When it's done by Ufotable? Yeah. It didn't lose its solidness. I'm like, ooh, that's really good.
Yeah.
Except for that one scene where he takes off his mask, but I think that was intentional. Like where the dude takes off his Riku blindfold. And you're just like, what?
Yeah.
Speaking of villain, shout out to Mendoza, who's actually just Aizen. His final form was just final form Aizen, let's be real.
That was a great way to end that series, though. Low-key.
When they're like, oh, God, we really can't beat him. Let's use the curse mark that we've been hyping up since the first episode. That was actually a really good, you know, tie around.
Like, yeah, you know, Chekhov's gun, basically. Don't introduce a curse mark in the first episode unless you bring it back for the final act.
Yeah. Like, the curse marks, you know, the after effects and the consequences of it were really felt in the first half. And, you know, in the second half, after Leon, you know, is depressed for like 6,000 years and then comes back and he's like, my life sucks, but I'm better now. And then, you know, his life begins to suck even harder after he gets laid again. You know, he gets laid. His life is like, oh, it's looking up. No, it's not.
Shout out to at the end of the Garo movie, we were both thinking exactly the same thing. Watch
Rip
Doza come back for the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, that would have been hilarious because they're screwing around with the gate that they locked Mendoza in.
Yep.
And that's what the main concern was. They're like, oh, there are a lot of dangerous things in there. We can't let that happen. And if we do, it'll be some like Bleach Quincy end of the world type crap because not balance of souls. Yeah, man.
Like, wasn't the gist of, you know, the final arc in Garo, Mendoza's just like, oh, I'm summoning demon monsters from a different dimension. I'm going to summon the ultimate one and fuse with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
He summoned it at first and he's like, hey, I don't have to fuse with it. And then, you know, Leon wrecked it and he's like, you know what? Noms it.
Becomes final form Aizen. Yeah.
Yes. He had a backup plan, which is good for a villain.
Yes.
It's just that he's like, I've become truly immortal. And he's still talking garbage with his face cut off, and that was fantastic. Just like, you know, the scene when Ichigo, you know, like grabs Aizen by the face and Aizen continually talks trash.
Yeah.
Oh man. Also, shout out to Leon ascending to deity tier.
Oh,
He
yeah.
he embraced the Golden Knight and transversed through several dimensions and became a god.
And I'm just like, that is not a lion. I mean, wolf.
Wolf. Yeah, the Golden Wolf. That's what Garo means. It looks less and less like a wolf every time he upgrades. He like went from Super Knight to deity. But that's what happens when you like use all the powers of your past incarnations, though.
Like, his final form is like low-key just this god phoenix, and I'm like, that is not a beast. I'm sorry.
And it's got this unlimited blade works thing going on.
Yes.
And then like he's got a Buster sword.
Yes.
and he smites people with it, Garen style.
Yes.
Man, the problem is that they were trying so hard to like not let children die, whereas versus Mendoza they didn't have to worry about that.
Yes.
Like, rip Leon for having to watch his dad die again.
Uh-huh.
Like, rip that. Oh, wait. I think we might be spoiling this all for Kira if Kira's still in call.
Kira?
I'm here.
Are you sleepy? Go to sleep if you're sleepy.
I'm not.
Okay. Well, let's move on back to Light Yagami and Alucard then. um, Based on what I know from Alucard from like reviews and like top 10 anime characters, like he's just too creepy to be like all the way cool.
Okay. Sort of the gist of Alucard is he's so batshit crazy and over the top and violent that you just root for him anyways.
I see.
Everything that he does is super entertaining.
Yeah, villains can do that. It's so much more entertaining to watch an OP villain than it is to watch an OP hero.
Yes.
Because for an for like a hero, you like, okay, I want them to work, you know. I want them to, you know, work and strive to, you know, overcome their demons and problems. Having them one-shot their enemies is like kind of not fun. Like there's certain exceptions I'll like make. For example, when a character is like the most powerful character in the world prior to the series, and scrubs are just like, you know, I'm gonna fight you, and then MC is like, I don't want to fight you, and scrubs are like, I'm gonna fight you, and MC is like, I'm a pacifist now, and scrubs are like, no, I'm gonna fight you, and then MC one shots him, and scrubs are like, what the heck, and then MC is like, I said I didn't want to fight you.
Yeah.
Like there's a couple of cases like where that's okay because you know it's justified because it's like, oh yeah, this character before the beginning of the series was like super broken. He's given up fighting, blah blah blah. Like, you know, for example, that's actually the gist of a lot of American action movies. Like, MC was the best at what they did, and then you know they quit, and then scrubtastic people are like, I'm gonna fight you. That is actually like the summary of 90% of like action movies.
Fair enough.
Because there will never be not be scrubs saying I'm gonna fight you.
Is that the moral of the story?
Yeah, there will always be more scrubs. So like, in in this show called I almost like Code Geass, Chrome Shelled Regios, MC is a high school. Well, he's not. He's actually a college student. I take that back. He's like 19. He's a college student, right? And this is in a world where aliens came down and like infected the atmosphere,
Okay.
killing almost all the humans instantly. So the humans ended up making like mobile cities, right?
Yep.
This is an old light novel series. Anyways, so they MC is from the biggest of the mobile cities, and it's like a super kingdom with the top like 13 martial artists in the world, and he's a part of them, right?
Mhm.
Well, and anyways, he ends up like, you know, entering underground gambling arenas, which is illegal,
Mhm.
to like in cage fights to get money for the orphanage he comes from. So, you know, he gets stripped of his rank.
Yep.
And, you know, exiled. So, you know, he heads to the next, you know, mobile city. You know, so he gets there and he's put in a mobile city full of high school students
Mhm.
being trained to be martial artists, and he's like college student, top tier, you know, world martial artist. He's like, I've become a pacifist. I don't want to fight anymore, right? I'm just a student. So, but you know, the owner of the town, who's also like a college student, because apparently everyone's a high schooler in this town.
Mhm.
You know, is like, you know, this guy is like a top tier martial artist. I'm going to get him to fight. So they get into a situation where he's forced to like become a part of like one of the martial arts teams.
Mhm.
So he has like been fighting 30-year-old men, master martial artists, his entire life, right?
Yep.
Since he's like 8. Meanwhile, everyone who's like a high schooler just started fighting a couple of years ago,
Yep.
and they're all scrubtastic. So he does stuff, and he like purposely nerfs himself because he doesn't want to fight in the first place, and everyone's getting wrecked, and everyone's like, "Why is this guy so broken?" And he's like, "I'd rather not talk about it." You know, every time someone new comes up, they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna cause problems," and he's like, "You shouldn't do that." They're like, "I'm gonna do it anyways." And he one shots them, and they're
Yep.
like, "This is bullcrap." And he's like, "I'm like older than you. I'm also like a martial artist master, but I guess that doesn't matter, right?"
Hmm.
I mean, it's not like you're like a high school student, but whatever. It's none of my business. So one of the best things is when this guy he ends up fighting is like from like the same branch of like sword style he's from, and he's also a high school student, and he goes, I'm gonna fight you, and I'm gonna prove that I'm the better swordsman.
Mhm.
So in their first encounter, the scrub guy he beats him in the sword battle, and then MC just curb stomps him with hand to hand.
Okay.
Like he like wrecks face hand to hand, right? And then Scrub runs away. So Scrub's like, all right, I got this. I'm gonna do it again. So he comes back and he attacks him during like a tournament, and he gets wrecked.
Hmm.
And because this time MC's seen him fight before, and he's like, all right, I'm not losing again. Third time, he's like, all right, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna steal his girlfriend. I'm gonna lock her up, and he's gonna fight me a third time, and I'm gonna win this time.
Okay.
MC takes the bait. And, he goes there, and he sees his girlfriend in the window, and he like looks away for half a second, and enemy like cheats, cuts him while he's looking at his girlfriend who's been kidnapped. Anyways, MC is like, all right, let's do one final sword struggle. So they're about to do like the final slash, and Scrub goes and slashes, but MC had created an illusion of himself and then just nukes the guy.
Sounds about right.
And he just gets totally destroyed. And I was like, yeah, he probably wasn't going to nuke you if you didn't do the shady things you did there. But whatever. That was what you get. Oh man, it's funny, and it's funny because he's not supposed to be like the main focus of that show.
Hmm.
It's actually supposed to be the friends he has. It's supposed to be told from their angle. But apparently the anime studio thought it would be more appealing to tell it from his angle.
So,
Because
you just get an anime following, this broken dude and his friends around.
yeah, instead of this friends and his friends are trying to figure out this broken dude's backstory.
Hmm.
Because his friends are like, oh man, why is he so powerful? It's like supposed to be from their angle and them getting stronger and this guy being the goal.
Yeah.
Though they're like high school students and he's like super martial arts master in the world, so
Yeah.
that. And there's like 12 more of him, like tier people around, and then like there's the queen who can one shot all of them at once,
Okay.
and it's just like, oh yeah, the women in that series are like really OP.
Okay.
Yeah, that was one of the few times where I was like, oh, it's okay. He's an OP protagonist, but it's like not really supposed to be about him. It's the same studio that animated Legend of the Legendary Heroes.
Oh, okay.
And apparently that studio messed up the way the story was supposed to be told in that one too,
Okay.
which is why it never got a second season.
Okay.
Because apparently the fans of the light novel were like, this is garbage compared to the light novel, even though I think the anime is good. And, whatever. And so, also, the studio apparently doesn't like doing season twos as well. So there's like 50 bajillion reasons Legend of the Legendary Heroes will never get a season two.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hi.
Alright, so, hello, British Senpai.
Hi.
Are you tired?
No, I'm sick.
Why are you in call then?
Because
Like, if you're sick, rest.
Okay,
You're
I'm
not.
naming this episode of Aizenchat to um, low energy chat.
Where I just talk for like 6 years.
Pretty much.
So let's go. Let's talk about Monster. I know you've only read a couple chapters and I've only seen a couple episodes, but let's just talk about the beginning of Monster
Okay, sounds good.
because that's a very good villain-oriented series.
Okay.
So anyone doesn't know, Monster is a series that aired in the early 2000s and I think may have been written in the early 90s.
We can look it up. Give me a sec.
Yeah.
1994 through 2001.
Okay, that is early mid 90s to early 2000s.
Yeah.
So, anyways, it's about this doctor who we're just going to call, for all intents and purposes, Dr. Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes place in post World War II Germany in the 80s. Because, of course, that's post World War II. I'm just trying to establish that's not some alternate weird timeline. Right?
Yeah.
The series starts in the 80s. And a doctor is, well, Dr. Japan to be specific, is working in a German hospital best known across the country as the best, right? So, political people move into town because they are refugees from like a different part of Germany, and they're there as political, what's the term? Figureheads, I guess. And they are killed, and their son is shot in the head, and their girl is traumatized. So, Dr. Japan, who has been, the best brain surgeon in the entirety of the world at the moment, is like, I'm going to, operate surgery on this boy who just, got shot in the head. And his boss goes, no, you're going to operate surgery on this mayor who just had a heart attack, and he ends up choosing the boy. Little does he know, the boy is actually a sociopath. And, he helps out the boy and chooses the boy instead, and essentially ties the noose around his own career, to actually legitimately quote the way the other doctors phrased it. And so, he gets demoted to common practitioner instead of being head of surgery, and which is a big demotion, by the way. Like, holy crap. And, he just does emergency surgeries, and it helps clear his conscience. So he sits with this boy who he believes to be unconscious, and he says, I'm glad I chose you, but I can't help feel regret and anger. And he's like, I hate my boss. He'd be better off dead. Well, little does he know, this boy is actually conscious and totally a sociopath. Little boy goes and kills the 3 doctors who caused MC Japan grief. And, vanishes with his sister. So, MC Doctor is promoted to head doctor and is like, well, that happened. Fast forward 9 years later, and, the stuff's, coming back and revolving around him, and he's like, what the crap is this? And, well, turns out this little boy has grown up into a full-grown sociopath and is manipulating people to kill each other. And he's doing it. Well, I don't want to actually give that much away, because I know why he's doing it, even though I'm only 4 episodes in. But, he's doing it for reasons, and tells the doctor, and the doctor has to go to the police and go like, so there's this 9-year-old who I did operation on, and well, he worked, and he killed 3 grown men with candy, and then disappeared for 9 years, and then came back, and then killed 3 more grown men, and then told me on a roof while it was raining. And the doctor and the police are like, so should we arrest Dr. Japan? And then the head police guy's like, well, we can't. And they're like, he's totally lying. There's no way some 9-year-old killed 3 grown men with candy. actually exactly what happened.
Yeah.
So Johan, which is MC villain, who's
Yep.
not MC Japan, is actually Aizen in teenager blonde German form
Yep.
with no superpowers, right? And he essentially just talks his way through everything to the point where he never even has to lift a finger really to do anything if he really wants to.
Yes.
He just like, you know what? I can do it myself, or I can, speak whispers and lies and truths and confuse the person until they don't know which is which and just let them kill themselves. It's to the point where he emotionally scars a man so far that the man, who is an experienced lockpick and has seen various crimes done, calls him only the monster.
Yes.
He stops at no ends to achieve his goal, which I can't mention because spoilers. But his goal is so different compared to other, villains to be. Again, spoiler blocking. Like, you just run into that wall anytime you try to talk about his motivations.
Well, yeah.
So yeah. Anyways, this is unique villain. I'd check out if you guys are interested in watching a good villain series. Check out Death Note if you haven't done that already. Check out, well, if you're into vampires and like really weird gory stuff, and I say really weird gory stuff because it gets weird because there's like Nazi vampire zombies
Yes.
thing. Check out Hellsing Ultimate. Don't check out the original. The original gets weird. Weirder. There we go. That's the term. If you like mech and you liked Light Yagami, I'd recommend Code Geass. I'd talk about Lelouch, but I'm pretty sure I'm the only person who's watched Code Geass here. Considering how no one's objected that, I'm pretty sure that confirmed my suspicion.
Yeah.
Oh, Kira said she's watched it, I think.
Leans in.
This is entertaining.
Welcome to 4 people in call and only 2 people actually say things.
Yeah, it's the best. Oh god, I lost circulation in my foot.
Don't do that.
Yeah, it got the numb. It didn't even get the tingling, it went straight to numb.
I see.
Okay. So. Oh. She probably fell asleep. Yeah, so, Lelouch is, essentially Light Yagami if Light Yagami was, did a fusion dance with Kyosuke Hyobu and, Kaiba. So, I'm gonna give some background for Lelouch. Lelouch is Alright, so, Alex, are you familiar with the premise of Code Geass?
Not exactly.
Okay, so, let me give you the rundown. So, England is the main villain, like Great Britain. So, Great Britain, essentially, in secret, was working on super advanced technology, and they created super mechs called Nightmares, and literally like soloed 50% of the world's army with just these mechs, right? So they conquer a good portion of the world, and only the European Union and the Asian Confederation can fight them off. I'm pretty sure they like conquered the Americas and like Africa. So what happens is they also conquer Japan. Japan being the first one they conquered because Japan's a small island nation. Right?
Yeah.
So they conquer Japan, and what they do is they give all of the British colonies numbers. So, for example, Japan is colony number 13. So the king now rules over half of the world, and he is constantly waging war with the European Union and the communist Asian alliance, right? So he has children, as kings often do, with like 20 bajillion women. Ends up having like four princes and like 5 princess children.
Yep.
And MC Lelouch is one of these children. MC Lelouch's mom gets killed in a assassination, and Lelouch, confronts his father and asks his father, "Why didn't you protect my mother?" And then Lelouch's father is like, "I don't care." And
Yep.
Lelouch goes, "I give up my princehood. I hate you, father." And, storms off, and then his father throws him into exile in Japan.
Yep.
Right? So then Lelouch changes his last name from V. Britannia to Lelouch Lamperouge and befriends the Japanese kid.
Okay.
So after he befriends the Japanese kid, all of Japan is instantaneously conquered.
Okay.
So, anyways, fast forward a couple years, Lelouch is like just this high school student who plays chess gambling matches and beats grown men frequently.
Mm-hmm.
And is like a super genius and like playboy, pretty boy who never actually goes on dates because he thinks it's a waste of his time. Anyways, he and his little sister are hiding in school because if anyone finds out that they're like a prince and princess, they could either be one assassinated or used for political pawns, right? So Lelouch is minding his own business one day, and he ends up getting in a situation where he is in a terror zone, and he meets this chick who's like female and kiddo, and she gives him psychic powers, and his psychic powers are the ability to, once he looks in the eye, give any command to anyone, and they must listen to him.
Okay.
So he uses this to get a mech, and then, he joins up with the Japanese rebellion army, and he's like giving them orders, and they win the first battle against England, and he kills his brother.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first episode. I'm not going to go past the first episode because I don't want to give too many spoilers. Anyways.
Yeah, first episode.
Yes. It is. I watched this in like Anime Club.
Okay.
I legitimately started from episode 2 in my senior year when I watched episode 1 of my freshman year.
Okay.
So, Lelouch just like, all right, I got this. He commands them and they win. And he's like, just like chess. My brother was never able to beat me in chess, so this was easy. So he ends up killing his brother and becomes known as the leader of the rebellion.
Yep.
So he's like, all right, I got psychic powers, I got a Japanese army, and I'm a British prince. Oh boy, that won't go over well. So he hides his identity and becomes Zero. So the whole premise of his character is he's doing this because he wants revenge for his mother, and he wants a world where his sister does not have to live in hiding because she's a princess.
Mm-hmm.
So Lelouch essentially struggles with the fact that while he wants to go full Light Yagami, he can't because he's got an Emoto to worry about, and because for some reason, despite his like murderous intentions and his burning hatred, he still has friends.
Okay.
Right? So the problem with Lelouch is that he puts his friends before his end goal first.
Yep.
And it prevents him from being full villain, and it just causes so many complications in the series for him because he's waging a war against the biggest empire in the world.
Yep.
But he's always got to save high school students. Or he's always got to save his sister. Or he regrets doing something because it violated one of his friends, because he has to lie to them frequently because he's a super secret terrorist. Right?
Okay.
So Lelouch always has this, I'm evil, but then like 10 seconds later at the flip of a switch, he could be like, I am totally still just a teenage boy. As opposed to Light Yagami, where at like 18, Light Yagami is, I am God.
Okay.
So, Lelouch as a villain is lacking in the fact that he just is always torn between his good and his evil.
Okay.
As a protagonist, he loses points for the exact same thing because he just, like a good protagonist, like a good guy, because he's always doing good. He always has like a good intention usually, but ends up doing it in like the most evil way possible because he's him. Right? So I did a top 10 villain list, and the reason he didn't make it is because of just his indecisiveness of what he is going to do. And I think that's more of just the writing's fault than that actually is Lelouch's fault, because there are like times in the series where he like full on embraces the light Yagami that is Lelouch.
Yep.
But the writers are always like, oh boy, we effed up, and they have to bring back the human aspects of him that make him like a normie.
Yeah.
And I'm like, stop that. What are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he's essentially like Light Yagami if Light Yagami didn't go crazy from day one.
Okay. Sounds interesting.
It's really good for a mech because, alright, do you know how mechs have that problem with, oh, this mech is OP, and then they like do a DBZ thing where they start jumping up in tiers of mechs?
Yeah.
Code Geass does that, but it's not the focal point, because the focal point is mind games and playing chess with armies of people. And Lelouch comes to realize, like very early on, in fact, it's like episode 2, that you cannot just play with an army like it's chess.
Okay.
And that's like as much as I can cover from Code Geass as possible without it being like full-on spoilers.
Fair enough.
Kira, you have any input? Love you too. Oh man. Maybe we should talk about Fate Zero when Kiriko Tamine was having his perspective shown.
Okay.
Like, that's fun. Like, the Kiriko Tamine arc is fantastic. Or, you know...
Well, the thing with Fate Zero is his arc is literally, like, the majority of the series.
Yeah.
You know, just because of the way Fate Zero is shot. You know, it's not like each character gets perspective. It spatters everyone in every episode all the time.
Yeah, but it's mainly Waver, Kiritsugu, and Kirei.
Yes. But that's because, spoilers, those are the people who don't die.
Yeah, Repudes.
Yeah.
Though if you like know Fate, like Stay Night, you'd know that they didn't die already, like right off the bat. So,
like, it's like a spoilers not spoilers thing
because it's a prequel.
Yeah, and you know they show up in
Stay Night,
a major role or a limited role in Fate Stay Night.
Yeah. So, you know, Waver's whole thing is, you know, becoming a man story, and then Kiriko Tamine's is like, I am actually a sadist.
Yes.
Kiritsugu's is, I want to...
for this shit.
Yeah. He's Batman after Batman comes back from retirement.
Basically, yeah.
And then, like, Kirei is, like, this Joker that knows martial arts, and that is not good for Batman.
Yes.
So, Kiriko Tamine's whole arc is he's a priest, and, well, as a priest, you know, his only thing he's ever found pleasure in is in the pain of others, so he's marked pleasure as a sin. He encounters his master's servant, Gilgamesh, and Gilgamesh, being chaotic good, goes, you know, you should just have fun. Right? And Kira is like, fun? Fun is evil. And Gil's like, in what dimension is fun necessarily evil?
Right.
You know?
So then Gil is basically like, all right, I'll tell you what. You know, you're involved in this. Well, you're involved / we're involved in this Holy Grail shenanigans. All right. The people you were collecting information on, right? The people who you found most interesting, go and collect more information on them, right?
So Kirei comes back with like 60 bajillion pages on Karya and like Kiritsugu,
Yep.
and Gil's like, I understand the Kiritsugu thing, but this Karya guy is not really a threat. Why did you collect 80 bajillion pages on him? And Kirei's like, I thought it was necessary. And then Gil's like, no, 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 no. I think you just like watching him suffer. Kira's like, low key, maybe. And he's like, and then Gil's like, you should do something with this. And Kira's like, what? And Gil's like, what do you think? Kira's like, well, I don't know. And then Gilgamesh gives him a little bit more advice and like slowly just pushes Kirei to the point where Kirei just becomes accepting of who he is. And he starts assisting Karya just to prolong his suffering.
Yep.
So, the climax of the arc, well, technically speaking, the first climax, because it's the second one where he fights someone.
Yeah.
The first climax of the arc, he kills his master.
Yes, because his master is a backstabbing traitor, and he likes Gilgamesh better than he likes Tokiomi.
Yep. Tokiomi was willing to discard Kirei and Gilgamesh at a whim, and Kirei and Gilgamesh were not too fond of that.
So,
Yep.
So Kirei kills him, and then, he makes a contract with Gilgamesh, and then they become, team villain as far as villains go for a story that's a battle royale.
Yep.
Like, low-key, neither of them are evil.
It's just what they do to get there sometimes is.
Yeah. And even then, Gilgamesh does not take any evil actions in Fate Zero.
Yeah. The worst he did was he ate some children, and he's like, you know what? I didn't have to do that, but I was hungry.
Well, that was post-Fate Zero, though, after he took a bath and all the world's evil.
Yeah. He didn't feel bad, but he's like, you know what? I could have not done that.
Yes.
So he's aware. It's not like,
whereas,
he's like a psychopath.
Yeah, whereas, Kirei Fate Zero, but he wasn't good in the first place. He just wasn't evil. He just
he's
kind
like
of does what he has to do.
So he ends up now in this fight with Kiritsugu. And, their morals are coming into clashing. And, Kirei is like, all right, this guy's like me. And Kiritsugu's like, this guy's a psychopath.
Yes.
Kirei is like, all right. Let me crush his heart in a single punch. And Kiritsugu's like thinking, this guy's pretty good at martial arts. I should let him...
Whoa.
And gets like punched in the chest. And like his rib cage collapses and his heart is crushed. And, he gets back up because of the power of Avalon, and Kirei's like, alright, so that didn't work, so let me just crush his brain next time. And Kiritsugu's like...
This fight is awesome, by the way.
Yeah, Kiritsugu's like, well, that was an awful start to my plan. So,
yes.
Kiritsugu's like, alright, backup plan. Let me shoot him with an origin round. Kirei blocks. Kiritsugu's like, okay, this is bullcrap.
Well, he doesn't block the bullet, right? He punches the bullet as the bullet is tearing through his arm. He flicks his arm to the side, shreds one of his arms, but spares his body from being, just punched by this freaking hand cannon bullet.
Don't forget the first one he blocked with the black keys, though.
That was just machine gun fire.
I swore it was, no, because I thought he, shot it, and he's like, why didn't it backfire?
Yeah, he did the command spell shenanigans. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that was the initial thing where Kiritsugu's like, okay, this is bullcrap. And he's like, okay, he's using command spells. That's not fair. And I'm like, Kiritsugu, you have Avalon.
Yes.
And then, that's when Kira is like, oh, he has, like, mana canceling things. Alright. Not actually mana canceling, but Kira was close enough.
Yeah.
So, he takes precautions with his hand.
Yep.
So, they're fighting, and Kira loses control of his hand, and then, he, like, starts beating the tar out of Kiritsugu again, and Kiritsugu's like, okay, so he throws a knife in his leg, and then Kira continues to still beat the tar out of Kiritsugu, and Kiritsugu's like, okay, this is not fun.
Yes.
And then, so, they end up trying to go for a final clash, where Kira is like, I'm going to throw all my black keys at once, and I'm going to punch you. And then Kiritsugu's like, I'm going to shoot you. And then black mud falls on them.
Yes.
Kiritsugu only wins because he gets up first.
Yep.
Kiri calls bullcrap. Yeah, Kiri calls bullcrap because he's like, alright, that wasn't fair. And, then he gets a heart, and then the Grail heals his wounds.
Yep.
And, Gilgamesh is like, oh, well, the mud fell on me too, and since you were my master, you got, like, reduced mud resistance. So, you're not dead. Congratulations.
Yep.
And this was the start of evil Kirei Kotomine.
Yes. Because that's what happens when your life becomes, completely dependent on the whim of all the world's evil.
Yep. Shout out to the Heaven's Feel arc for being like, oh, I'm taking away your heart, and then Kiritsugu still fights. Not Kiritsugu, Kirei.
Yes.
And Sakura's just like, well, that happened.
Yep.
Sakura's like, I ate your servant and, like, took away your heart. What the crap?
Yes.
Kirei's like, priest swag. Frickin' pins down a servant.
Yes. He won
And
the
Assassin.
servant. And
Assassin's just like, well, you know what? Screw me too.
yes.
Because Kira's like, I have baptism right, and this will screw you in particular, Assassin. And Assassin's like, I don't want that.
He freaking pins Assassin backwards to a tree.
Yep.
It's fabulous. And Assassin's like, I can't even escape this by going into spirit form. This is stupid.
Yep.
So, he has to bide his time, weaseling his way out of it.
Oh man, Kirei. And then end fight is between him and Shiro. And Shiro's like, alright, my body's made of metal. Kirei's still beating the tar out of him.
Yes.
And Shiro's like, oh. Well, I'm made of metal and I can't really do much, I guess. And they keep fighting. And Shiro's just like, well, this still hurts a lot. He's like punching me in the chest. Again.
It's funny because, like, the final fight in the Heaven's Feel is literally just this fist fight between two people who are almost dead.
Yep. They both die unless you have Ilya, high happiness.
Yes.
And you're just like, well, shout out to Kirei Kotomine this arc.
Well, he just gets wrecked in Unlimited Blade Works.
Yeah. Him and Gil each...
Like, I orchestrated everything the entire time. Lancer spears him in the chest.
Yeah. Him and Gil each have a route like that. Like, Gil gets wrecked in Heaven's Feel, and he gets wrecked in Unlimited Blade Works, and they both do stuff in Fate.
Yes.
But if you want, like, more Gil, you watch Unlimited Blade Works. If you want more Kirei, you watch, like, Heaven's Feel. But if you want more Kirei and you want more other characters, I hope you're prepared to be disappointed because everyone's dead.
Yes. Heaven's Feel is the route who, like, kills everybody who didn't get, basically everyone who got screen time in the other routes just gets killed.
Yep. And then Shinji gets murdered.
Yep.
Like, he gets, like, worse than usual. Like,
Well,
he can live through the other routes, but he gets, like, stabbed to death.
No, he dies in Fate. Ilya kills him.
Oh, that's actually canon?
Yes.
Okay. That was in Dean Stay Night. I didn't know if it was canon.
Oh, no, it was totally canon. Ilya taunts
Okay.
Shiro. She's just like, oh yeah, you know that guy who, you let live? I don't know why you
Mhm.
did that. I just had Bruce Hercules kill him.
In Dean Stay Night, he's running away, and she catches him in the hallway and smashes his face in with his Hercules' axe.
Yes. And then Shiro's like, why did you do that? He wasn't a threat.
Shiro's like, he can't even use magic.
Yeah,
If he wanted to summon again, he couldn't do it.
yes.
Ilya's like, well, you should have. And Shiro's like, that's not okay, lolly. You shouldn't do stuff like that. Ilya proceeds to do stuff like that.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, anyone knows, Shinji's not actually a complete jerk when he's not a master.
Oh no,
When he's like only...
I mean,
He's like a jerk, but not that much.
yeah, like the big thing to realize is that he and Shiro are friends.
Yeah, and Shiro's like, man, what's with him lately when he becomes a master?
Yes.
Because like Shinji becomes more manipulative and stuff,
Yes. Well,
and Shiro's just like, oh,
like Shiro's other friends, like they don't necessarily like Shinji, but they're not like, let's ditch Shinji. They're just like, oh, it's Shinji, basically.
yeah,
Like he's not like he's a jerk, but he's not that much of a jerk.
he's like a jerk so that Shiro can overlook it,
Yes.
and then like him and Shinji hang out, and like Shinji's like, oh, you can be my buddy in like the Grow War. I mean, you're like me. We don't know what's going on, and I'd be cool with aligning with you. Rin pisses me off though.
Yes. And then Shiro's just like, but I totally sided with Rin because,
She's smart.
yeah,
And then Shinji's like, you backstabbing bastard.
yes. Then Shinji just gets super salty and is like, oh, well, you shouldn't have done that.
Yeah. He's like, I thought it was bros before hoes. And then Shiro's like, well, I chose the pretty girl. And the other pretty girl. Even though she abuses me. And Shinji's like, you're an idiot, Shiro.
Yes.
But yeah, that was the extent of their conversation. Poor Shinji, though. Shinji's just like, I'm going to get my best bro here. Shiro's like, nope. Shiro's the girl who rejected you. Shinji's just like, that must have hit Shinji's pride specially.
Well, no
It was
crap.
like, this is the guy who's hung out with me since, like, I think they were hanging out since middle school, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, this is my buddy since middle school, and he just chose the girl who rejected me. Okay. I'm done.
Yeah, pretty much.
And, like, sure, Shinji's not a good person, but, like, yeah, it was his buddy. He wasn't going to kill Shiro. Just keep this in mind. So, Rippu. He was
Yeah.
only going to kill Shiro after, like, the Rin thing. That was
Yeah.
only... Now, would he have killed Rin? Probably.
Well, and even then, like, it wasn't his intention to kill Shiro. He's just like, oh, you showed up. Well, I'm pissed at you, so yeah. I'm gonna
He probably would have gotten over it.
Yes.
If, like, Shiro wasn't there. He'd be like, oh, you made a stupid decision. It's okay. You're making the right decision by joining my side now.
Yes.
That's probably what it would have come down to.
Anyway. Like, yeah.
The villains from Fate are all of different colors.
Yes. This makes you want to transition into extra because the extra Shinji does stuff.
Extra Shinji is not actually a mean kid, though. He's just cocky.
Yes. He's a child.
Yeah. He's like, "Oh, you're my NPC buddy. Oh, you're not really an NPC. Want to hang out?"
Basically, yeah. Um, and then Shinji's just like, he's casually just this online troll, basically,
Yep, who's a really good hacker.
right? And then is like, wait, you mean this is actually my soul? Oh, I don't want to
Oh,
die,
I wanted
guys.
a rematch. That's what he was like. I want a
Yes.
rematch. This time I'll beat you. And then Hakuna's like, well, that was my only friend. I just murdered him.
Yep.
Whoops. Well, aren't you like... Isn't he acquaintances with OG MC? Too? Like, before MC dies?
Shinji?
Yeah, because MC talks about Shinji. In, like, the first 4 days, he, like, goes into depth about Shinji. And I think you talked to him.
Potentially, I don't remember. It's been a while.
Same for me. It's been, like, 2 years. Since I played the beginning of Extra.
I feel you.
All I know is that OGMC was really close with the newspaper club.
Yeah.
Like, he was really tight with them. And they were like, he was a part of it, and they're like, oh yeah, hey, what's your name? After he asked what's my name, and he's like, oh my god, I'm an NPC.
Yep. Then Shinji and CCC, Shinji and CCC like get over a majority of the narrative until Vi's like, "Oh, Shinji, you want to be a master?" And then Shinji's like, "Yeah, I would love to be a master again," right? So then Shinji gets contracted to Elizabeth, right? And then Melt Lilith shows up, and she's just like, "No, Elizabeth's my servant now." And Shinji's like, "Well, this sucks. I want my revenge." Then Shinji pulls this, heroic self-sacrifice suicide bullcrap, and Melt Lilith, consumes him, and then Melt Lilith is just like, "Wait, why am I weak? Why?"
He is a hashtag 8-year-old. He's like 8. That's what happens when you consume an 8-year-old normal boy.
Well, yeah, Shinji infected himself with Melt virus, so that when Melt Lilith ate him, basically she took massive uber penalties, so she went from ridiculously powerful to, weak. And then to add insult to injury, BB's like, "Oh, Melt Lilith, you were hacking reality again, weren't you? Don't do that crap."
Rip.
Takes away Melt Lilith's powers, so then you fight, Melt Lilith. At the end of whatever chapter, you fight Melt Lilith, and she's just like, "This is bullcrap. I should have absolutely destroyed you." And then you beat Melt Lilith.
You get wrecked, son. Elizabeth Shinji is such a weird combo.
Yes. It's like a thing for all of 3 seconds before Melt Lilith is like, "Yeah, no."
Oh, Elizabeth. Elizabeth is Team Rocket. She like Loki is.
Yes.
Oh man. It's not like how she's a dragon, but Carmela, who's based off of her, and Dracula is just a vampire. Just a vampire.
Yes.
So you know the only reason Elizabeth Bathory is a dragon is because her family crest was a dragon?
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh man. Shinji summons all the pirates should be a special. Also, did you know that Gudako order, like the Guda Guda order, had like animated stuff? It's
Really?
not translated yet though. Yeah, hold on. It was on the Type Moon movie YouTube page.
Interesting. I didn't know this.
Yeah, it's voice acted and everything.
Oh,
Yep. Hold on, let me pull this up. Oh, whatever. Speaking of villains, Kira, who's your favorite villain? Maybe I'm trying too hard.
Oh dear.
God, why are all 5 of my recommendations One Piece?
Ouch.
It's because Funimation, I guess, released a new box set. And, like,
Funny, like we're gonna, freaking add the crap out of this,
yeah. Oh, man. We had an episode full of content today.
We did. Even though we got distracted talking about Fate for the last half hour.
Yeah, that's what happens when, But at least we kept villains.
Yeah.
But, villain narratives are fantastic. Anime needs to make more of them. Because it's not so often we get to see a blurred moral code for an MC that isn't just a anti-hero.
Yes.
Like, when it's a villain, there's so much more that's up in the air with risks when they do something. Because with a villain, you can kill them and then switch narratives because it's like they're the villain.
Hmm.
Whereas with the hero, they're the hero. It's very rare that they will actually die.
Yes.
Especially with the way anime has gotten recently, with just this being content with telling the same 5 stories over and over again.
Yes.
Sure, like they're perfecting the formula, but it's not fun.
Hmm.
Anyways, yeah, it's time to end this Sandy Chat. With me today has been only Alex.
Pray you're not the only one.
British Empire, are you going to interject?
Oh, I was supposed to say something. Yeah, I drive a car that I never mind.
Yeah. Again, only Alex. Kira, you care to say anything? Thank you, Kira, for that lovely comment. All right, see you guys next week.